is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're gonna be talking about Hairspray, the classic 2007 movie musical starring one Amanda Bynes and one Queen Latifah and one John Travolta and many other people who we're gonna get to in the review. We're gonna talk about all the things. We're gonna talk about racism, standing up for yourself, you know what I mean? Not being afraid to eat whatever you wanna eat, and most importantly, why black people don't use hairspray, but in fact use activator. We're talking about all the things. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to The First Ones to Die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The First Ones to Die podcast. Jerome, why are you smiling?
Yeah, it don't feel so good not to it.
The both of you just like the both of you paused at the exact same moment with that smile. This, viewers, is what I have to like put up with. Go to jump to the YouTube version and see that.
For a second, you got me for like 0.2 seconds. I was like, is he frozen?
This whole episode is going to be a mess.
Right. Well, I am here with fellow co-hosts Alex and Jerome. Alex, how you doing today?
Are you just gonna skip me?
What? Alex and Jerome?
First of all,
we don't know if you're frozen or not, apparently.
Right. And second of all, you usually skip me anyway. So, yeah, it's time.
No, I'm just joking. Alex, go ahead.
I don't know.
Oh, tea! I'm spilling it.
Yeah, he never spills any good tea for us. It's been an okay week. It's been a weird week now. It's already been a mess now. But like, well, it's the start of a new week. We are recording this a little bit later than normal, which is fine. Things happen. Life happens. Keep going. Keep dancing. But other than that, my week's kind of been slow, normal, so nothing too exciting to report. Just laughing a lot today, which is good. It's good. It's good to laugh. What about you, Jonathan? I know what it is.
I love that. Oh, I'm doing good. My week last week was good. Went to San Diego for work for a day. And on Saturday night, the Geffen Theater, which was the home of The Inheritance, which I was in last year, they had something called Backstage at the Geffen. It's their annual fundraiser. It's their biggest fundraiser. And it was so great. It was really great. Surprise guest Jay Leno was there. Ooh. He did a stand-up routine. Yeah. Tone Bell, he's a comedian. If anyone's ever watched Drink Masters, he hosts that on Netflix. He was there. We talked to him afterwards. We were like, good job. Because his thing was like, I don't know why they keep asking me to come back, because it was his third year hosting. And I'm like, at this point, I'm just seeing if they could. I'm just seeing how far I could push it. And after the show, we were like, yeah, I think you got a fourth year. You got it. You're going to be asked back next year. That was fun. They were honoring Debbie Allen and Greg Berlanti. So that was a lot of fun. I saw a lot. I got to see and talk to a lot of the people the cast members of The Inheritance again. So that was like fun getting to reunite with them and everything. But overall, it was just a fun night.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. And it was great. It was great. The Geffen really knows how to like put on an event, which is cool.
Dope.
Yeah. Jerome, how was your week? See, I didn't skip you.
It was good. Didn't do much this week as far as like anything mega crazy. A lot of stuff has been coming out though that's been great. As far as like trailers, commercials, all that good stuff. We got the Color Purple trailer today. Whereas at least at the time of this recording, it's already out. And it looks fantastic. It looks good. Fantasia sounds good. I'm excited and I'm glad to see her in a movie. I think she's been in movies before, but nothing this scale before, I don't think.
Fantasia Barrino, her Lifetime movie, that's where she got her acting start. I remember watching that because she played herself in her Lifetime movie, and it was great.
Yeah, so she's fantastic. She looks great, but also so does the rest of the cast too, like Chloe Bailey, Halle Bailey. I'm sorry, getting the sisters mixed up.
Wow.
Halle Bailey, my bad. But she looks great in the role. Coleman Domingo, one of my favorite black actors of all time. Or of the modern times rather. He's fantastic. And so I'm excited to see him in this as well. So it looks good. It looks really solid. I'm excited for when it comes out. Also, started watching Class of '09 on Hulu. Still don't know how I feel about it just yet. It seems interesting.
Class of '07.
No, it's Class of '09.
Oh my God, that's the year I did graduate.
But it's interesting. It's an interesting premise, interesting show. So I'm willing to give it a chance. I mean, all the episodes are out, I think. Or no, I think it's coming out weekly. Actually, I think I'm just behind. But either way, it looks cool. So excited to keep watching it. And speaking of things I watched, we're doing a review of this next week, so I won't give you any mini review. But I've already seen Fast X, and I have thoughts.
I'm watching it this week.
Oh my gosh, I need to post this on my Instagram. I'll also post it on the First Ones to Die Instagram, because this morning was driving to work, and every morning there's on Hollywood, before you get to Hollywood Boulevard, you see a whole bunch of billboards and everything. There was a billboard for Fast X, but it was partially covered by the new movie Strays with Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah.
And so it looked like this.
That's just so ghetto. It's just like they didn't finish.
They were in the.
They're like, we'll come back.
We'll come back and do the rest later.
You can see. I think I got there at the right time. Because the guy, they're like working on it. They just did half of it, but they're actively working on it. I just got there at the right time.
Oh, I love that how you got into the part where it's like it's die. Parts it's straight, parts it's die.
It looks like it says Will Ferrell or die, and this dog and Vin Diesel are starring in a movie together.
I mean, at this point, would you put it past them? Know what I'm saying? We're expecting Transformers in the next movie at this point in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Will Ferrell is a stray dog working with Vin Diesel in the next Fast and the Furious. That's how the dogs become part of the family.
I took a video too, so I'll post it on TikTok. I'll post it on TikTok.
Yeah, so otherwise it's been a pretty alright week. I've been just working a lot, trying to get a lot done, be more productive, yeah, man, it's been good. It's been alright.
I'm dying to see Fast X.
That movie.
I'm so excited.
You listen. Upon watching it, I had to go back and rewatch like Fast 5 and because it's just a thing where it's like you watch Fast X and then immediately like your brain just goes, "How did we get here?" And then you watch it, and
you have to reimagine Chizuma in every one of those movies now. Because I've avoided trailers and everything like that. Well, I have to do that with Fast and the Furious franchise. I've actively avoided watching those previews since Fast 6. All right.
Well, it's just like because with Fast, what is it? Fast 6 was the introduction. Like Fast 6 or Fast 7 when they introduced the agency, an agency who works for who we don't know. We're not gonna bother to put that much thought into it. It's just the agency. And ever since then, I'm like, let me get this straight. We live in a world like you mean to tell me that the Fast and the Furious, the first one, while they're stealing TV like DVD/VCR players, Meanwhile, somewhere else in the world, there is like Mission Impossible level gadgetry being used by secret agents somewhere. That's what you expect me to believe?
Yes. You know what? Somebody pointed out, and it's kind of been on my mind a little bit because they were like, "Oh, King George in like Bridgerton is like really sweet, and then King George in Hamilton is all fucking crazy," which he was. He was bipolar. He had a lot of mental issues. That's not the point of the story. But somebody was like pointing out, they're like, so technically, the story that's going on in Bridgerton right now, in this exact moment, is the same thing happening in Hamilton and what's going on in America. And then somebody's like, yes, and at that same time, because Catherine the Great is on Hulu, that's going on as well. So all those three events that we are watching of TV are actually 3 world events that were occurring at the exact same time.
Reminds me of the hip hop verse that people wanted to be a thing. You guys know about that?
Mm-hmm.
So they made, like for the longest time, we didn't get no biopics of anybody who was in the hip hop sphere, right? And then the Notorious B.I.G. came out, and it was huge. It was a big hit. People loved it, and they thought it was great. And then Straight Outta Compton came out, and that was great. And so but they started using similar actors in different projects, because the dude who played Biggie, then after Straight Outta Compton came out, Michelle A., who once was in a relationship with Dr. Dre, and says that he abused her and everything like that, was like, you omitted that from your movie Straight Outta Compton. So she made a movie on Lifetime telling her side of the story during that, and it was supposed to be like, this is because even the poster was like, how Straight Outta Compton's poster is all of the NWA group walking forward, and the Straight Outta Compton's behind them, mm-hmm. with the the parental advisory logo is the way they did the logo for the movie. The Michelle A. poster for the Lifetime movie is them walking, and it's their backs behind her as she stands solo by herself in the center, and the parental advisory logo is used again for her logo for her movie. So it's supposed to be almost like what would you call that? Like a sister film or something like that. Yeah. But the dude who plays Suge Knight in Straight Outta Compton plays Suge Knight in that movie. And the dude who played Notorious B.I.G. in Notorious B.I.G. plays Biggie in that movie as well. And then they had a dude play, the guy who played Tupac in Straight Outta Compton looked a lot like Tupac. But then they made the Tupac movie, All Eyes on Me. They had a different actor, but they damn near looked the exact same. And so people thought they were the same actor. So a lot of people are theorizing like, yo, is there like a hip hop verse going on? They're just hiring the same actors to play the same people during the same 90s time period? Because that'd be so cool. And they all look, and they're good actors. So.
The fact that there would be a hip hop universe. That's great too.
The hip hop cinematic universe.
I mean, it kind of breaks down because Anthony Mackie plays Tupac in the Notorious B.I.G. movie, who, if you know what Anthony Mackie looks like, he looks nothing like Tupac.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I don't remember that.
There are multiple actors. It's, in fact, I watched White Man Can't Jump this weekend.
I did watch that. That's what I just remembered that, you saying that. I did watch it with Jack Harlow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that a movie or is that a show?
It's a movie. It's a remake.
It's a remake.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fun. It wasn't anything like too special. My
only issue with it is that I feel like they focus a lot on damn it, I'm
Jack Harlow.
The other character.
I
forget the actor's name. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta look it up. Hold on, because I don't want to get it wrong. Because he did such a great job. Sinqua Walls. He's it's his name's weird. It's Sinqua. So I think it's Sinqua Walls. He's great. He's fantastic in the movie. And they do, like, the movie starts with him, like, giving you a little bit of his backstory, and then throughout the movie we get his backstory, and we understand why he loves basketball. They never do that for Jack Harlow. They just use him for, like, jokes, basically. You never, like, and Jack Harlow has this whole drama.
I'm like, is he an influencer? Is he, like, some sort of, like, guru? Like, what is his
Right.
feel
They
his
never
character.
do a
He
great job
likes
establishing his motivation for why he wants to play basketball so bad. Like, they do a great
Yeah.
job with Sinqua Wall's character, where you understand exactly who he is, why he is what he's motivated by, his struggles,
And then it's
everything.
unraveled throughout the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Harlow, it's like they were like, well, Jack Harlow's going to be the comedic person, but they still want to give him like a story and drama, but his drama is so like, is always put, because then eventually halfway through the film, they drop half of the basketball stuff and they give him a rival white guy who he doesn't like for some reason. And then, but then he never, like, they run into each other 2 times in the movie, and then that plot is dropped completely. They leave that character in the dust and move on.
You want to know something?
It's weird.
I did background for this movie. It was last summer in July. I remember it. Beyonce's Break My Soul had just been released the day before. And it was a scene. I was there all day. It was a scene where that took place at, it was the very end that took place at, okay, spoiler alert for White Man Can't Jump. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to spoil like where one of the scenes take place.
Oh no, people are going to be heartbroken that you spoiled White Man Can't Jump the remake.
At the very...
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Go on.
But it's a good point. It's a good point. At the very end, it takes place at the huge stadium. And we filmed that at, what's the stadium in Anaheim? I still don't know California like that.
Burbank?
No,
not Burbank. I'm
no,
stupid. Burbank is a whole other city.
And it's not near Anaheim.
Yeah.
I don't know any places around Seattle either. I've been living up here for almost 10 years now. And people are still like, oh yeah, you just go this way. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What's the second? The Honda Center. The Honda Center. It was at the Honda Center. We were there all day. And I played a Lakers assistant coach, sorry. And we filmed literally for like less than an hour, but we were there like literally all day. But it was fun. It was a fun day. Got to be a Lakers assistant coach for the day, and didn't see any of what we filmed in the movie, which was fun.
I was like, oh, if I watch it, I'm going to find you again.
Ain't that how it goes?
Oh my god.
Because the part that the part that I'm talking about, Jerome, right? At the end,
yeah,
where they're interviewing him, and then all the family and everything's on the court, and you see the players. The part that we filmed, like, it didn't even look like what was in the movie, so I just immediately knew I wasn't in it, and I'm all right with that because I'm cool, I'm chilling. That was the one background thing that I've done in LA, and I'm like, I'm good.
Are you sure you're not heartbroken to not being in the background of White Man Can't Jump?
Right. I'm like, I'm good. That begins and ends my background journey in Los Angeles.
I would say honestly, after watching it, I don't think it's better than the original, but it is an alright time. You know, the basketball scenes were shot pretty decently. I know Jack Harlow can ball. So you know, he sells it pretty well. So does Sinqua Walls. It's just a very average movie for me. And it's mainly because it's just like the other characters that aren't Sinqua Walls, and I guess Jack Harlow to a degree, don't really get a lot to do except be the most basic version of their roles. Like, and that's pretty much it. And Vince Staples and Miles Bullock get terrible jokes to tell. They're supposed to be the comedic duo, but I'm like, y'all trying really hard to make these lines funny, but it's not y'all's fault. It's the writing. The writing's not helping you at all.
When they cut to Jack Harlow's knees and he had the surgery on his knee, it was almost like a comedic cut. He was telling this dramatic story about how he had like surgery and everything. And then it cut to his knees just like abruptly, like it was a very comedic style. And I was like,
oh, like when they drop the camera all of a sudden they go womp womp.
It was kind of like that.
No. That's bad.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with like Laura Harrier too, like being his girlfriend, and I was like, you guys seem cute together and all, but I don't care about this relationship really. He could have honestly had no girlfriend, and it would not have changed the movie that much for me.
It's true. Well, that was our mini review of White Man Can't Jump.
I was thinking of doing a mini review, but then after a while I was like, you know what, it's not worth it.
It was fun to just put on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie to just watch with the family. If you like White Man Can't Jump, the original with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, like, you can watch this one and be like, oh man, they made a new one. It's just like when they made the new House Party this year. Same thing. Although I heard House Party was bad.
I heard it was really bad.
I heard it was really bad. It's good.
Good. That's so aggressive. Good.
It's not great, mostly because the premise is already.
You're writing it down so you can watch it, Alex.
Well, mostly because the premise is dumb. Like it's the original House Party is just that they throw a house party. This one is like, oh man, we got LeBron's house for a few days. It's like, who the hell just gets access to LeBron James's house for a few days to throw they thinks to themselves, let's throw a house party, because he's definitely not have security cameras or other stuff. Right. Definitely know we did that.
But like, so there was teenagers who did that, and then I think it was a football player or basketball player that were like, hey, have your kids come back and clean up my house. And the parents like, no, take off the social media posts you put on our kids or we're going to sue you. And he's like, fuck it, now all your kids are going to jail. That was an actual case. I have seen the previews for this. I didn't know that it was supposed to be a remake of House Party.
Mm-hmm. Because they're like posing as like, or they like work for a cleaning service or something, right? So they're like cleaning LeBron's house while he's away or whatever, and then they decide to throw a house party, I guess.
Although it makes me wonder, because I've met the director for House Party, and he did not tell me that they were making a remake when because we met. He was also writes for Milestone Comics. He writes Icon and Rocket, and so we met him at the Milestone Initiative, which was really cool to talk to him. He had like great stories about BET when he did like Black Panther for BET and stuff. He's a cool dude. Reginald Hudlin. But when he was talking about I wish I had known that the House Party remake was happening, because I would have asked him, did you approve this? Are you okay with this? It sounds like a shit premise.
There's a House Party 3. I think I'm going.
Oh yeah, they made a couple house parties.
It's got a 4.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's actually not bad. I feel like IMDb is usually low. That's actually not bad for IMDb.
Well, it is written by Stephen Glover, so that probably helped it a little bit, because Stephen Glover's a great writer. That's Donald Glover's brother.
I feel like it was cringy enough where you just enjoyed it because it was like cringy. Or it made you laugh where you're like, I can't hate on the movie fully. I was enjoying it this entire time. Not for the right reasons, but I enjoyed it.
The director's name is Cal Maddock. I thought that was weird at first, and then I looked and I'm like, oh, it's Cal. And he directed White Man Can't Jump. The new White Man Can't Jump too.
Oh, okay.
So we know he has a niche now. Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Remix.
But he's mostly
he's like a music video director.
Yeah, I'm like, Cal Maddock. He's obviously there's no director who's just trying to make it in Hollywood as a movie director whose name would be Cal Maddock. Only one man can get away with that, and that's Boots Riley. He was a rapper at one point. That's why his name was Boots Riley.
Well, you know who the director of the 2007 film Hairspray was?
No.
Adam Shankman.
It was Adam
I only know
Shankman.
that off the top because I'm looking at IMDb right now.
Cheater.
Well, with all that being said, today we are going to be talking about the 2007 musical film Hairspray.
Based off the 2002 musical of the same name.
Yes, and that was based off of the 1988 comedy film of the same name.
Mm-hmm.
And Hairspray is about a pleasantly plump teenager named Tracy Turnblad who teaches 1962 Baltimore a thing or two about integration after landing a spot on a local TV dance show. The film stars Nikki Blonsky, introducing Nikki Blonsky. This was her first role. John Travolta, Michelle Pfeiffer, Amanda Bynes, Christopher Walken, Queen Latifah, James Marsden, Brittany Snow, Zac Efron, Elijah Kelly, and Allison Janney. A couple weeks ago, I was the lucky victor of Trivia Plaza. Trivia seven. Trivia 7.
Trivia 7, yes.
Yep, Trivia 7. And at first, I chose, I wanted to see what dreams were made of, so I chose the Lizzie McGuire movie. And I still had the Lizzie McGuire movie in my heart. But after watching the musical Hairspray a couple weeks ago, I think this is my second time watching the musical, like on stage. I was like, let me go back to 1962 and let me not go back to 1962.
Yeah, I was like, because it was such a great time for people.
Yeah, I'm about to say, we can't go back to 1962. None of us. It was
If
a bad time.
If I stay out of the sun long enough, I could like at least walk down the street in certain neighborhoods.
I like this film version of 1962.
Yeah, this is definitely the most like optimistic and nice version of 1962 that's ever been on film ever. Given the subject matter, given the material.
Right. Mm-hmm. First of all, what is your guys' relationship with Hairspray? Either the musical or the original 1988 movie or the 2007 movie? Have you seen all three?
I've only seen this. I have not seen the original musical or the original 1988 movie. But I've seen this movie many times. I remember this was like the same thing as like I remember for a long time in my childhood, it was School of Rock came on all the time on Nickelodeon and stuff. And this was the same way with like other channels like TBS. Like Hairspray used to come on TBS like almost every other week. It was like TBS's Baby Boy, all right? This is the movie we are choosing to play nonstop, 24/7, 365 because it's a classic. It's timeless.
A lot of demographics too.
Yeah, it hits a lot of demographics. It's very family friendly. It's very PC. Because, there's there's a lot of people that plays a lot of respect to those of different body types, races, those who love musicals. Like it appeals to so many different people.
And there's some risque jokes, but it never goes like too far.
Well, even the most risque stuff, it's all hidden. Like if you because as I was, when I watched this, I was a kid. So watching it today as an adult, where I'm listening deep into these lyrics, and I'm like, some of the references and stuff they're making, I'm like, I was in there, like that's a little adult, don't you think, for the kids? But it's like the kids won't notice. They're just too busy, like you can't stop the beat. You know what I'm saying? They're not listening to anything that's happening. They're too busy just dancing and jamming. But it's cool. It's cool, and I think that's the best thing. Those are some of the best musicals, the ones that like the parents can watch because they're like, it still appeals on an adult level. There's a lot of adult themes in this movie, but it's never so serious or so dark that kids can't enjoy this too. It's very bright, it's very colorful, but they never, while they imply a lot of stuff, it's only because they're trying to keep it very like PG, but not because they're trying to hide the realities of the situations that are in this movie of like, fat shaming, of racism, interracial relationships, all types of stuff. So it's great. I think this movie is a fantastic film. Fantastic musical.
How about you, Alex? What have you seen?
I will say I'm a little happier we did this movie than the Lizzie McGuire movie. Not because I didn't enjoy that one, but mainly because, like, as Jerome mentioned, now as an adult, I like see things so much differently now. And in the Lizzie McGuire movie, they were 14 years old. That girl needed better adult supervision. She was running around Rome. God knows what could have happened to her. All right, that's my mindset nowadays when I watch films like that, where I was like, yeah, that would be like, no, absolutely not. I would have sued the school. I would have sued the teachers. Everybody getting sued for my child running around and all of a sudden being in like this concert in the middle of Rome. I don't care if it was a once lifetime experience. No. With Hairspray, it was a little bit that way where I was like, this is cute and this is fun. And like, I laughed so hard when they were racing home to watch the Cordy show. Because I was like, I did that with TRL. I remember running home and like immediately putting it on because they were premiering a new video because they were, debuting a song and you had to know the top 10 list for TRL. What music video was definitely at number 1. So like I got it. I got it like really well. I did think it was so funny not so funny, but it was a little funny to me, the whole Tracy kind of leading the march. It was a very much the white savior 16-year-old girl that we see in like the Hunger Games and every other like dystopian
That's what I said in
movie.
I think me and Jonathan, your Rising Genres episode, we talked about Hairspray, and I said that where I'm like, yep, this one big white girl's gonna solve all the problems of racism.
Yeah.
That's probably my only thing with Hairspray. It's like there is some the white savior complex in there. Absolutely. But it sugarcoats it.
It is sugarcoated. It's not as heavy. She didn't suddenly solve racism.
Right.
She did help open the door. So it did lead to open the door, but it also was like a lot of their skills, little Esme? Her dancing ability that won her the...
Oh, Inez.
Yeah.
Inez.
That led her
Lil
to
Inez.
Miss...
Well,
yeah,
also, she never overshadows Queen Latifah's role as the clear, like, leader of the black community in Baltimore. And
I do enjoy, unlike Mother's Day in Atlanta, there are a good amount of black people in Baltimore that are shown. Also, I did love the escalation of after she hits the cop with the sign. Every time we hear something new.
Yeah, dude. It's just like, he's been hospitalized. He don't even remember what his name no more.
When Link comes to the door, he's like, I came running over. I couldn't believe that Tracy would hit an Eagle Scout with a knife. I was like, I love the escalation of the story. It suddenly went from
I just love when he's like,
Eagle
he got bludgeoned. I'm like, bludgeoned? He literally was so coherent. He was coherent enough to make arrests that night.
They're like, he's been a veteran of the force for 45 years, has been sent to the hospital after she's bludgeoned him with a blunt object. And they're like, he didn't bleed. There was no blood.
Although technically, though, he wasn't wrong. And when he was like, "You just assaulted a police officer," she's like, "Assault?" I'm like, "Yes, Tracy, you hit him with a sign. Even if you didn't do damage, technically, legally, that would be considered assault."
Which I was like, that's an unrealistic part of this because I was like, before a lot of those protests and even these protests now today, they give people warnings of like, "Don't do this. Don't do this. This is considered bad. If this happens, run." So, like, nobody gave this little girl warning about, like, maybe don't smack an officer with a sign. To be fair, it's because she showed up late.
She did show up a little late. But also, I love that she hits him, and he actually yells at her. I'm like, that's not how that would go down. She would hit him, and then he'd be like, "Queen Latifah, you're going to jail. Well, how dare you hit me?" Just put the cuffs on.
Which technically did happen, because, like...
technically, that did still happen.
It did happen.
Other people got arrested because of her.
I laughed because I was like, quick, black people, protect the white girl from getting arrested, not her.
I thought that too. I actually thought that too. I was like, they literally
make a wall,
linked arms for her to get away. And then when they finally get her back, they're like, how could you not help her after everything she's done for us? What'd she do?
I'm like, y'all are having a peaceful protest, and she is the sole reason it became a riot.
Which in the musical, it's so they all go to jail, and it's not because Tracy hit the police officer with the sign. It's just because of like the scuffle, and they were protesting in the first place. Mm-hmm. And as I was like watching the musical, I was like looking at some of the differences between the musical and the movie. But
I
Sorry, go ahead.
remember in the original or the 1988, she does go to jail. And then
Mhm.
she gets her hair ironed out because that was another
Yes.
style back in the day where you were literally ironing out, which I had talked to somebody about, what a friend's mom of mine, because they were talking about my hair and they were talking about the frizziness that I have in the waves. And they're like, oh, you should really try ironing out your hair. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, you actually get an ironing board and like iron. I was like, oh, that's not great. That's not a
What
good
about
thing.
what about just like a
Where's Bert?
straightener?
That was their old fashioned straighteners.
Oh.
Which I don't know why she just didn't tell me to use an straightener, because like
Yeah, because
this was back when like maybe in high school. Yeah, this was back in high school, so like straighteners exist. She's like, you should use an ironer, and I'm like, I'm good. Leave my hair alone.
For me, you know what it is? Oh, go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like about like our relationships with the movie. So I've seen the 1988 version once, like years ago, and that movie is directed by John Waters, who also directed Serial Mom, which we reviewed, which
He
was
also cameos
one of my
in this movie too.
Yes, as the Flasher, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which,
Um,
Waters, yeah.
Yes. And the 1988 version, it's so different. Like the characters are the same, the storyline's the same, but it's tonally, it's like Serial Mom. It's so dark, and that's like John Waters' style. That it's so interesting to see that this and the musical came out of that movie.
And I agree with that because there's parts I kept mixing up from the 1988 version to this version that I couldn't, like, my brain thought they were all in the same movie. Because,
Excuse me.
Bless you.
do you recall that she actually got sent to a special ed class? It was in detention, right? Because of, like, her hair. It was actually a special ed class.
That
Yes, she gets
explains the line from Britney Snow in this movie then about that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
she gets sent to and in the musical too, she gets sent to special ed. It's not detention. Well, she
Yeah,
gets
and I
sent to
remember
detention
that
and special
clearly.
ed.
See, I remember the special ed part so clearly, and then this one it was like detention, and I'm like, wait, wasn't she put in like a whole another class because they kept saying her hair was like dumbing her down or
Distracting.
something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or distracting.
Like thinking of the detention thing. First of all, when he sends her to detention, you could just see on her face, she's like, "Oh, woe is me! Oh, what am I to do? I guess I'm just going to have to go to detention, the place I have the most fun in this entire school. Oh no!" But also, I love that when like Tracy becomes famous, you've got black kids lining up to get in detention like it's a club. And in my head, I'm like, I know this is supposed to be a very fantastical version of 1962, but I don't believe that black parents at that time would have accepted knowing that their child is intentionally going to detention just to hang out. I send you to school to get an education. I don't now if you go and get sent to detention for racist reasons, that's different. If you are intentionally sending yourself to detention, that's an ass whooping when you get home. You better believe you me.
That's fair. That's fair.
But in the other iterations, detention and special ed, like it's the same people and it's all the black people and Tracy, and they're all in special ed.
Yeah, I remember that so distinctly, and then I remember the jail scene with her getting her hair ironed out, and like the little things I guess I was remembering from 1988 to like the now, and I'm like, wait, did I miss a scene? Did I skip over a scene? Because I know how I get distracted. Especially that the riot scene it wasn't a riot. They made it into a riot, I swear, in the 1988 one, or they made it into a bigger fight than they did in this one. This one was just like literally they were pushing back and forth on each other, but no actual fight broke out. And I actually don't think any actual arrest happened in the 2007 one. Nobody actually got arrested or put back in the back of cop cars. Because all the people that were on the front lines in that march were helping her still. Like Queen Latifah was at home with her daughter the same night. So
I am interested because I have the Wikipedia pulled up because there's some fun facts I learned while watching this movie as well, and I didn't know which I didn't because at first I remember when the movie came out, And the big thing was John Travolta was one of the big stars of the movie and playing Edna Turnblad. And I didn't really think much of it when I was a kid. I was just like, oh man, John Travolta. Because especially when you grow up watching Big Mama's House 1 and 2, you're just used to seeing men in like fat suits playing women on TV. So I was like, whatever. You know, I've seen a Tyler Perry movie. I know the deal. But
Well, if you grew up in the 90s, you saw Martin doing it all the time every week.
right, exactly. So I was like, I didn't really think much of it, but watching it today, I was thinking, I was like, I really hope this isn't like a wigging situation, which either you know what that is?
No, I don't think so.
Wigging, at least I think it was called wigging. It may have been called something else, but basically back in the day in like the 1970s or 60s, somewhere around there, it was a common practice for like stunt performers when they were doing stunt work. If ladies needed to do stunt work or whatever, they would just hire a dude to do it and they put a wig on and pretend to be a woman, as opposed to hiring stunt women to actually be stunt workers. Which was considered very sexist at the time and stuff. So I was like, I really hope that's not, because I'm like, is there not a lot of big women who could play this role and do it well? But then upon doing research, I was like, oh, I didn't know it was a drag role. It's always been a drag role ever since the 1988 film.
Mm-hmm.
And
Really?
yeah, and so I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Got you.
Yeah, in all iterations, it's been like in the musical I saw, it was one of the drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race. So there were a lot of people from RuPaul's Drag Race that were in the audience.
Mm-hmm. And they, I'm reading on the Wikipedia page, it says executives at New Line Cinema originally expected the part to be filled by an actor accustomed to playing comic roles, tossing around names such as Robin Williams, Steve Martin, and Tom Hanks. However, Travolta was aggressively sought after by producers Craig Zadin and Neil Marin for this role because he had starred as Danny Zuko in Grease, the second most successful movie musical to date, beaten only by Mamma Mia. Which, fun fact, Mamma Mia is the movie that beat this movie as the highest grossing musical after it came out. In the U.S. anyway. Or a movie musical in the U.S.
I still sing ABBA.
But, which Robin Williams, I understand. I couldn't see Steve Martin doing this role, not because he couldn't do the part, just because it's like the singing ability and the dance ability, I think, needs to be there as well.
Well, Steve Martin sings. He's a singer.
Steve Martin has
that's
literal
true.
records out.
He has albums.
I forgot about that. That's true. Tom Hanks is the weirdest one to me, though, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I don't see Tom Hanks. But he's an actor.
I think Robin Williams couldn't stop himself from like being too cartoonish for this type of role.
And it also might have been too similar to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Miss Doubtfire.
As well.
Yeah.
Although I think John Travolta, he's great in this movie, but I do think that his voice, you could tell he wasn't great at keeping the voice up. Because there are times
lower.
Yeah, well, there's times where when he's acting, it's perfect. It's fine. It's, it's definitely, you could tell it's a man doing it, but it's consistent. When he's singing is when it's not, because he clearly, there's certain notes he's supposed to be hitting that he can't hit with his register. And so there's times where his voice just goes back to its normal, tenor registry. And so it sound and and I only really noticed it when he does that number with Christopher Walken, You're Timeless to Me, where there's times where it just sounds like two men singing. Because that's a hard song to sing in that voice. It really is. You can tell.
I think if they were to make that movie today versus 2007, I think they would have probably chosen an actual
James
drag
Corden?
queen. Not James Corden.
That's right. It would have been James Corden. He would have been he would have been the British man born in the British woman born in Baltimore.
Who would have sung an American accent? Oh my god.
Can you imagine?
Fucked up part is
Let's be glad we're not in that timeline. But I think they would have gone with an actual drag queen, someone who does drag
probably
outside of film.
Yeah, I think they hired John Travolta at that time because they were like, this was 2007. This was the time of big stars. Like they weren't just gonna hire just anybody. They wanted to hire like names they could definitely get, to get butts in seats. And John Travolta was a huge get. He was like the musical guy. Although I think they. Oh no! I'm thinking of Corny Collins. My bad. Corny Collins.
James Marsden.
Yeah, because there were other people up for that role too. One of them being Hugh Jackman, and I'm like, I could see Hugh Jackman doing this role. Yeah, I don't know if he would have done it as smooth as James Marsden does, because James Marsden has a smoothness to him.
Yeah, and surprisingly good voice.
Oh, he has a great voice. He's fantastic.
Yeah. He was amazing.
He's based off of, apparently his character's based off Baltimore TV personality Buddy Dean, who hosted an eponymous local teen dance show in the late 1950s and early 1960s. And it doesn't say it here, but apparently, also the thing about Buddy Dean, because I was interested, I was like, because I thought James Marsden's character is based off, there's a radio show host whose name I can't remember, but his big claim to fame was that he was the first white radio host to start playing R&B hits on his radio show, which got him a lot of flack and a lot of, like, because he was playing Chuck Berry, he was playing Little Richard. People were like, what the hell is this? But I mean, it appealed to a wider demographic, and so he still stayed on the air because he was playing music that the kids were listening to and that other demographics were listening to. So I thought that's who he was based off of, because of Corny Collins' whole thing of like, but this is the future. We should be playing some R&B. We should have more black people out here. But apparently, he's based off Buddy Dean, whose show got canceled because the station that his show was aired on refused to integrate. So I think that's an interesting flip. That it's like the Corny Collins show is like, what would have happened if the show had if the station had been more willing to integrate and allowed black people to be on his show, which I think is kind of cool. Although I do think it's weird they do it in this movie where Corny Collins is like, it's integrated now. And I'm like, you don't have the authority to make that decision, though. Just because you say it don't mean it's going to happen.
Well,
like, the studio has to make that decision.
Well, he says at one point.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, he says at one point, how are you going to fire Corny Collins from the Corny Collins show?
That's true. But the thing I like, well, not the thing I like and I don't like, is that the guy who does the Hairspray thing, it's never about like, oh, I've changed my view and I've been wrong about black people this whole time.
It's all about the money.
It's about the ratings and the viewings. And he's like, get the chubby girl off. He's like, this girl's selling me Hairspray. I like her. Tracy, come here. Like, so I do like how they didn't have everybody have suddenly a change of heart and everybody's all like, oh yeah, this is the future. He's like, all right,
money talks.
All right, I see the money.
I'm
I see
in
the
it for the
reviews,
check.
I hear the phones. I see the audience. So he's like, all right, yeah, okay. I can see how I can get more money from this. So I like how they did that instead of just being like, oh, the big bad guy, corporate guy changes heart. Yeah. So I do like how they kept it like that. He's the only one
though, because literally they say that, and all the whole crowd outside the studio's like, yeah, integration. I'm like, you act like 50% of that staff would not just leave the second you say that.
It looks like they only had one cameraman, honestly.
Like, not just the staff too, but also the dancers. Like, all the dancers are like, yeah, let's get into it. They're great dancers. I'm like, half of them would be like, don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. How dare you dance with me? And just leave.
I think honestly they all hated the Britney Snow's character. What was her name again?
Amber Von Tussle.
Yeah, I think they hated her so much. They hated her more than they hated black people. They were fine with the integration. It's like, it's gonna get her off the show. Fine, I'll dance with a black man. I got no problems then.
There was always the line that always shook me whenever I watched this movie is when Corny Collins, the nicest kids in town, and he always says, nice white kids who like to lead the way.
Yeah, I know,
like,
right?
There's no sugarcoating it.
He is very clear. I mean, even Michelle Pfeiffer's line where she's like, what did she say? She's like,
I'm about to lead you all in the white
direction.
Right direction.
Yeah,
He's like, you mean the right direction. That's what I said.
It reminds me of that Chris Rock joke where he's like, yeah, you know how the saying goes, if it's all white, it's all right.
Wonder why I got smacked.
Right.
It was
Oh my God.
it was a play on like how a lot of white people like treat black people in the commercial world, but it's just it's the epitome of that.
Yeah.
Right. And the second half of that line was, okay, it was nice white kids who like to lead the way. And once a month we have our Negro Day.
All of the great like that, like all those subtleties though are like some of the best parts of this movie, and why I say like this movie is because you look at Mother's Day and it's like we talked about how Mother's Day the movie could not handle having like these really strong tones of racism, homophobia, all that stuff, because they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to have the happy comedy, like happy-go-lucky type style of a romantic comedy and have these serious topics at the same time. This movie understands that assignment very well, of like, you could do it, you just have to don't treat your audience like idiots. Still have those in there, but just don't be overt about it. Because like you also have that scene when Amber sings The New Girl in Town. And then they cut to the black girls who sing the same song on Negro Day. And Michelle Pfeiffer's like, how dare you have them say the same song? And she's like, they wrote it. And they leave it there, but that is a lot. Like anyone who knows history knows that is a very common thing that happened back in the day, of a lot of black artists writing music that would then either they would perform it and then it get taken by white artists, or they'd write it for white artists and not get any credit either way.
Still happens today.
Absolutely. And there's somebody also, I once saw this pointed out how they had changed the lyrics and the meaning to the song. Originally, the version sung by the black artist was about the new girl in town and how she's got this man and everything like that. Just kind of telling her story about the new girl in town. Whereas when the white singer sang it, they were talking about the new girl in town and how she needs to stay away from their men and how they're going to get into physical altercations if she comes near their guys. So it also shows this like vast difference of like putting themselves against one another to these are just like, we're telling you a story about a girl.
Right. Which, fun fact, The New Girl in Town was not in the original musical. It was added to the movie. It was a song that was created for the musical, but they didn't end up using The New Girl in Town in the final product of the musical. And in fact, Negro Day is not in the musical at all. It was something that was added to just the movie. Like Negro Day is mentioned in the musical. Like they talk about Negro Day all the time, but it's you never actually see Negro Day in the musical.
The musical or not the... So, wait, which came first? The musical and then the 1998 or the 1998 version?
The 1998 came first.
Version. Yeah, the 1988 version came first, then the musical on Broadway, and then the movie.
Gotcha, okay.
Mm-hmm. Which, that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know
that. Funny enough, you know who was up to play Amber before Brittany Snow? It was Hayden Panettiere.
I was just thinking that.
Really?
I was like, I was trying to think of another white girl that looked like her.
Hayden Panettiere was also considered for the part of Amber, but decided against it in part because of her then upcoming work with the NBC television series Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I could see her in the role though, but I don't know if she sings really. But
they look exactly alike.
Yeah. Also, I feel like Brittany Snow fits Hayden Panettiere at that time was like the it girl as well. But I think Brittany Snow's the way she plays the character, and she just has that like mean girl like vibe. Yeah, especially the way of how like I hate to say it, but how like perfectly symmetrical she is. It's like she's just that's a weird compliment to say, but it's true. It's like she is just not only just like she's not just subjectively pretty, she's objectively pretty, all right? She's just her face is perfectly symmetrical.
You are too symmetrical to be trusted.
I'm just saying that's the perfect. All the mean girls in high school are always the ones who look like they were born in a lab, like they were built, not that they were born. They were made to be pretty, have the perfect looking body, the perfect looking face, the perfect hair, that sort of thing. Brittany Snow has that. It's why she has that same persona kind of in X, which came out a couple years ago.
I thought you were supposed to say Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect too, to a degree. But in Pitch Perfect, she's not a mean girl. She gets to be a good person. But
Right.
but in X, in X, she's like, that's her whole thing where she's like, yeah, I have a perfect body and I know I'm not afraid to flaunt it. Like, that's her character in that movie, and it fits Brittany Snow as the actress, like her acting style and how she performs in those type of roles. So I think she fits the role better than Hayden Panettiere would have. Me personally.
They look exactly
Yeah.
the same to me. Exactly the same.
That's just because there were two white blonde girls.
I kept thinking that was like Hayden Panettiere for a while when I was watching this, and then I was like, oh no, wait, this is not her.
Although I think Brittany Snow isn't a natural blonde. I think she's a brunette, actually. But regardless, still. What's his name? Zac Efron's in this movie.
Yes, he is. He's fresh off of his High School Musical 1 fame. Like, this was filmed, I think, just after High School Musical 1 came out. So, like, he was
still the teen heartthrob.
Yeah, he was. And then High School Musical 2, because I remember they were on tour. The High School Musical cast was on tour, and Zac Efron was the only one out of the main cast that wasn't on the tour with them. Mm-hmm. And Drew Seeley, the one who sings his vocals in the first High School Musical, he was on tour instead, and it was because he was filming Hairspray. And then High School Musical 2 and Hairspray came out like around the same time.
Apparently, this says the character is based in part upon Elvis Presley, which is very obvious. The way his hair looks and the way he dances, it's like, yeah, you're clearly Elvis Presley.
There was one part that really bothered me in the film. So, like, well, there should have been lots of parts that bothered me in this film, but this is something that bothered me personally, because like when Tracy's singing the song about getting married to Link and blah 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 blah, and she's like peeping at them through the boys' bathroom window.
Yeah.
The way he licks his hand. He goes like this. And then goes like, and I was just like, that was such a long lick. And I'm sure he didn't actually like put tongue to hand, but like he started from the bottom of his palm to the tip of his fingers. See, that tongue was straight on out.
What bothers me is was the Babe Ruth scene when he's singing and he finds that Babe Ruth bar in our Baby Ruth bar in her bed, and then he eats it, and I'm like, A, you don't know how long she's had that in her bed. B, you don't know, like, it's clearly been opened and partially eaten, so those germs have probably gotten pretty bad. You don't know if she had a cold. You don't know if she has a disease. Like, I'm just saying, bruh, I would not take the chance. I don't care if you like this girl. You don't know her like that yet. Like, I'm not eating this Babe Ruth bar. Especially because I don't have to. She don't even know you did that. You just did that.
She comes home, where'd my Babe Ruth go?
Anyway, it says Efron, a popular teen actor who played Troy Bolton in the Disney Channel TV film High School Musical, was initially thought by Shankman to be too Disney for the role. However, Shankman's sister, executive producer Jennifer Gibgot, she has a weird last name, convinced him to cast Efron, believing that the teen star would draw a substantial teen crowd. So thank God that the director's sister, or the producer's sister, like, thought of him as like, hey, he's big with the teens. It might be worth it to cast him.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think he fit really well. Because this movie, I guess because they did take out the like special ed part, the prison part, they made the marching scene a lot more docile compared to the 1988 one. It had more of a Disney vibe. It had more of a family-friendly vibe. And to have somebody like Zac Efron in there, where he was the high school heartthrob, where he wasn't necessarily the bad guy. He wasn't the great guy at the beginning. And, like, he took a while. It, like, took him literally till the end to come around. After he heard Tracy beat an Eagle Scout with an axe. For him to realize he loved her, no matter her size, which I believe is a lyric.
Yeah, I love that. I love the constant.
No matter what you weigh.
It's just, especially.
Tracy, I'm in love with you, no matter what you weigh. Sorry.
That sounds like a bad R&B song from the 90s, as we were just discussing before this podcast.
I just love when he's like, I just feel like this adventure's too big for me. Oh no, that's not what I meant. She's just like, it's like, I just love the constant like misconceptions about like weight and just like making fun of people for their weight in this movie. And I'm like, well, misconceptions and then the also perceived ones too, like the complete blatant ones. Because Michelle Pfeiffer, she be coming for people's souls in this movie about their weight. Like
the fat jokes are off the chain by everyone in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like when they were like, get Tracy off make sure Tracy or get Tracy off the show. She's like, I got my harpoon ready. I'll go for her. I was like, damn.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When she looks at Edna, she's just like, well, you'll stop traffic. And then she walks off. I'm like, damn, that's some cold shit. Because that's a legit compliment in this time period. But you know what she means.
Yeah.
No, I'm surprised she didn't call her a ton of fun or something. Like she was coming for her entire livelihood.
Well, when she was talking to her own daughter, she was like, "Oh, save your private life for the screen." Don't. Like, damn.
And it's like, what kind of miserable life do you lead if you in your 50s or 40, whatever, however old you are, and you bullying this teenage girl.
Listen, this is a woman. You're talking about a woman who brags about the fact that she won a pageant by screwing the judges.
Years ago,
and still is ramming on that. Like, I was once Miss Baltimore Crabs. It's like, bitch, you old. Ain't nobody care about the fact that you was Miss Baltimore Crabs. You ain't never gonna be Miss Baltimore Crabs ever again.
You just crab now. That's okay. That's okay. You just crab now. It's okay.
She's like.
Also, what kind of name is Miss Baltimore Crabs?
It's just the fact that.
What kind of title is that? I wouldn't want to even have that title.
That's an wife. East Coast. That's an East Coast title that they're proud of.
That's true. Mm-hmm. But it's just the idea of like she is the female equivalent of that quarterback in high school who's now in his 50s with a comb over who takes out the trash. It's just still talking about, hey, I used to lace them up back in the day, though. It's just like, no one gives a shit. It gives a damn, Earl. All right, you gotta take this trash
like
out.
that really care about their like pageantry history or things they like did in high school. Oh, I was prom queen. Cool. I don't know what you want me to do with that information. Yeah.
Also, that's a title that realistically means nothing in the real world. Like, cool. I guess you were popular in high school. Now get back to flipping these burgers, all right? McDonald's has a line outside going around the block. Because those are the people who brag about that stuff, or people who are working at like fucking Chick-fil-A or something. Serving chicken sandwiches like for the rest of their life.
It's gotta be tiring.
Can we, going on to another one of the characters, Amanda Bynes as Penny Pingleton. I remember when her name. Were you laughing at her name?
I'm laughing at everything.
You didn't even say her name right. It's Penny Lou Pingleton.
No, I said it right. I remember before this movie came out. First of all, I saw this movie in theater with my parents. I drugged them to the theater. I remember the day. I remember we first went to T-Mobile because we were like switching our phone over or whatever, or getting new phones or something. Then after we went to T-Mobile, we went to see Hairspray. I drugged them to it. I was singing and dancing in my seats, my little, however old I was, 13. And before that, I remember looking up that this movie was happening, and seeing that Amanda Bynes was going to be in it. I'm like, oh, Amanda Bynes, when did she sing? And I remember being impressed by her performance in the film, like her singing performance. She provided that. She was like, I mean, she's been compared to like Carol Burnett in the sense of like she was Nickelodeon's Carol Burnett. And she did have such comedic like timing. She had perfect comedic timing.
She was the it girl for Nickelodeon for a long time. They had her in everything. She's the Man. What's that movie where she goes to like England? Like,
Oh, What a Girl Wants?
Yeah, What a Girl Wants. Like,
There's a
this
Snow White
movie.
one too. I can't forget
Oh,
what it.
yeah.
Like I forget all these titles, but I remember the movie so clearly because it was the one where she was like
not Cindy White, but it's Sydney White.
Sydney White. Yeah, that was like one of my. I can still remember like the whole movie in my head.
Which is interesting because you look at this movie and it's like Zac Efron was Disney's boy at that time. Like Disney wanted to push Zac Efron. He was everywhere. And it's like, and then you look at from Nickelodeon's side, they're like, we getting in on this too. And here comes Amanda Bynes, where it's like that was their it girl at the time of like
right.
Amanda.
Although I don't think she had been on Nickelodeon for a while.
She had started to fade. Well, because at that point she started to do movies now. Yeah. In fact, even on the Wikipedia, it says here, like, Bynes is one of the few movie stars cast among the teen roles. And it's true. Like, amongst the teenagers in the movie, she was one of the few who had, like, been in other movies before this.
Yeah, that's why her billing is so high. She's, like, the fourth one listed.
Mm-hmm. Because she had clout at that time. She had been in a couple movies. All of them had been pretty successful. So she was doing pretty good as far as, like, you know, being in starring roles. Didn't she also do Big Fat Liar? Come to think of it,
I think that was
yes, I love that.
No,
that it was like years before that, but I loved that movie.
Yeah, so she had a pretty good reputation at that time.
Never watched that movie.
Dang, I should have chose it for our rewatch. Okay, next time.
Trivia 8. The fate of the trivia.
Trying to think I really like. I'm gonna win next time. I'm making Alex watch Big Fat
Liar. But she's great. I'm not gonna lie though, that blue dress she had on, I was like, dang, Amanda Bynes is fine as hell back in the day. I remember I had a thing for Amanda Bynes.
What, the curtain one? At the end?
Oh yeah,
I was thinking
absolutely. Are you kidding me? She looked good in that dress.
Did they take that out of her shower curtain though? I thought that too.
It does look like that, especially the beading at the bottom where you can see her legs.
That's what I had assumed.
No,
yeah.
It's supposed to be like, because at one point in the scene, in the movie, you see her curtains in her room. Those curtains are the exact same as the one on her dress. I remember seeing that as like a behind the scenes thing.
Especially because you see her dress, and I was like, I know you're not wearing that in 1962. Like, this is considered a very risque dress in 1960 because of how shapely it is. Like, it is very form-fitting to the point where when she's doing her dance moves, I'm like, you can tell she cannot move like enough to do any of these dance moves. Yeah, she's doing her best to do the mashed potato, but she just can't do it because it's so damn tight. Like, she can't move.
You know what? I think I vaguely remember from the 1988 version, while she's in jail, like, the mom is making dresses for her for when they get out, so they have a costume change. So I think that was actually something from the original movie of where the dresses were made from, like, bed sheeting and stuff like that. Because mom was a laundress and a seamstress at the same time in the original film.
Right.
Also,
so that might have been
shout out to Allison Janney too. She's not in this movie very often, but when she is, she's great. She's great. She's fantastic. She's just got such great comedic timing. Anytime she's a cameo person, she owns it. She soaks up that time. She's like, look, I'm only here for 5 minutes, but I'm gonna make them 5 minutes matter.
Like, you're gonna know I'm in this film.
That's right.
I'm in this film. Right. Yeah. It now. Some of the black folk.
Wait, last person I wanted to talk about was Christopher Walken, only because I think it's so interesting. Like, people don't talk about him enough in musicals, but he's done musical theater. Like, he enjoys doing musicals. He was once Captain Hook in Peter Pan. That came much later after this movie, but he did it. And
and that was the live Peter Pan, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With Allison Williams.
I think so.
As Peter Pan?
I can't remember who played Peter Pan. But I think the only thing that was interesting I saw on the Wikipedia was that apparently John Travolta had asked Walken to be considered for the part. Along with Michelle Pfeiffer as well, actually.
If I gotta be married to somebody, I want it to be Christopher Walken.
Right. And he asked for him to be considered for the part, and eventually, apparently, the people he beat out was Billy Crystal and Jim Broadbent.
I can see why he won Christopher Walken instead.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Crystal, I can see Billy doing the role.
I can see Billy Crystal.
Jim Broadbent, not so much. I like Jim Broadbent, but I just can't see
Jim
him.
Broadbent?
Jim Broadbent is
Wait, I'm looking him up.
well, I'm trying to think of
I
what movies he's
couldn't
been
see
in.
Billy Crystal in this.
Oh,
Or at
he was
least,
in
I can't envision him.
The Lion, the
but
Witch, and the Wardrobe. Oh, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Oh,
I
He's
said
been in a lot of
no.
Harry
movies.
Potter, Half-Blood.
I never saw the Harry Potter movie. I
Yeah,
don't know who that is.
Jim Broadbent's great. He's been in a lot of
Okay.
movies.
Jim Broadbent?
That's right. He was in Cloud Atlas. That's right. Yeah.
Also to talk, because I don't think we talked about Nikki Blonsky a lot as well.
That is true.
But-
we have not talked about the main character.
Right. She this was her first role. She worked, I remember seeing the story and interviews and appearances and stuff. She worked at a Cold Stone when she got cast in this
Cold Stone
part, 'cause they
Creamery?
did yes.
Sort
they
of an
did a
ice
whole-
cream?
Yes. They did a whole open call. Like, they did a whole open casting call for this movie. And she got the part. She worked at Cold Stone. I think they told her, they have like footage of her finding out that she got the part while she's on the clock at Cold Stone.
Yo, it'd be so
Probably
funny
like-
if she acted like how people do in movies when they make it, where they're just like, I got the part. Hey, fuck this job.
Right.
Just starts throwing ice cream everywhere. Hey, Steve, screw you, dog. I told you I'd make it, baby. Give me this. Just kicking cones over, like taking kids' ice cream and throwing it to the ground just to prove a point.
I had a job interview once at Cold Stone. Did not get hired.
Oh.
Nah, I made an active decision when I became a teenager. I was never going to work in food. I was like,
Same.
people don't respect people who work in food. I don't understand why that is, because it's not like you forget that I have the power to poison you, and before you even recognize that's happened, I've already moved on to my next shift tomorrow. So,
As
it's
somebody
like-
who has worked in food for multiple years, I can say I agree with that statement.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand people's disrespect of waiters and waitresses. Like, they don't have the power to kill you at any moment in time. You're putting all of your faith in this person that they are going to give you what
yeah.
you ordered
I had this-
untampered.
I was like 18 at the time. I had this one wedding guest. I was a banquet server. One wedding guest, so rude to me. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I got his ice from the dump bucket. And the dump bucket is where, because we don't have immediate sinks available, where we dump everybody's empty drinks in there. Just buy us, dump it, put a glassware in the
I
same
know,
place.
yeah.
Put my bare hands in there, grab some ice, went like this, put it in his drink, got him a new drink.
There you go.
And then he
Listen,
sat there and
you-
drank it.
Listen, you want to know, like, the movie that made me respect waitstaff more than anything else is the movie called Waiting, starring Ryan Reynolds.
Oh.
That movie
thought-
will make you respect waiters in a whole new way, because they talk about some stuff where I'm like, y'all can do that? Nah.
I thought you were gonna say The Menu. Have you seen that? The Menu.
I mean, the menu came
Yeah.
out the Waiting came out in 2000s. It played on Comedy Central all the time. It's a really funny movie, but Waiting 2 is trash though. But but The Menu's great too. That movie should also make you respect chefs, but for a different reason. Just, you know.
Right.
Well, oftentimes we would be like, oh, do you need that? I'll be like, no, the guy was a dick. He's waiting. How many times I said that? No, they're waiting. They're going to wait for their food. I'm going to
Yeah,
serve
well,
everything else.
Especially because The Menu is more like for like high-end food, you know, respect chefs in that respect.
Yeah.
Waiting is like, that's clearly modeled after like an Applebee's. Like, you know, the more common man restaurant you're going to go to, like a Shoney's or something. Like, this is more down to
Good story,
earth.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of cool that, you know,
Yeah.
and I say that all the time when it comes to like movies, when they're having a hard time finding their main star, then don't hire a famous actor. Make an open call.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you not? That's how you get the Chris Hemsworths of the world. And you know what I mean? Or that's how you get like not Jonathan Majors, dang it, what's his name? John Boyega. But Jonathan Majors too, to a degree. You know what I mean? That's how you get these stars that you're like, where have you been? And why are you so good? But no one's been noticing, and now they finally get their chance to be in the sun and prove how good they are. And Nikki Blonsky's great in this movie. She's fantastic as Tracy. She has the bubbly personality. She's got the dance moves down
looks
packed.
A lot like the original actress from the 1988 film, too. Like, they look a lot like... She's a little shorter. You can tell
Ricky
she's
Lake.
A little short. Yeah. It was Ricky Lake back in the 1980s.
Yeah, that was Ricky Lake, who was the
Man,
original
my
Tracy Turnblad.
brain, yeah, I don't even remember it being specifically. Well, she looks a lot like Ricky Lake back in 1988, except she's shorter. You can tell she's definitely shorter. But no, she did a wonderful job, and she was very good. And she moved so well. She did dancing so well. Because a lot of I wonder if she had any training in the past, because usually when you see new actors or actresses, they're a bit stiff in their dancing. Especially, this is a type of movie where they show, and I noticed this when it came to like the white people dancing, it's no hips. They don't know how to move their hips. They move their hips and move their whole body. I don't know what that's about.
Well, it's
Cultural thing,
1960s moves especially, which are very hard to learn because they were so of the time. Like they're not like how it is now. Dancing now is completely evolved from what we were doing in the 1960s.
Dancing has evolved from what we were doing back in like the early 2000s, 90s. Because somebody did a comparison dance of like what TikTok would look like back in like our time range of like
everybody doing the running man.
Running Man, fucking like the chicken soup, Superman by Soulja Boy.
Doing the MC Hammer dance.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little. Yeah. Oh, you're the jerk. I think kids are still doing that now. So like I can see, I was like, our dance movements back then were like you threw your whole body into it, and it was a whole straight up stage performance.
Those are choreographed dances. We're talking about just dancing.
So choreographed. Yeah.
What they're talking about in this is like when you're just busting out moves, you just do some freestyling and stuff, Just.
But even still, like even the movements back then were just were still very choreographed. Compared to now, it's a very like smaller body movement than what it was back in the day. Nobody drops it like they used to anymore. Which is probably why people aren't have bad as knees as us nowadays. Everybody's knees hurt. So
but yeah,
she was very good when learning those new dance moves, that she was very loose about it and able to adjust to it well.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Queen Latifah.
That's where you're going. I thought you were going to Elijah Kelly, because we at least mentioned Queen Latifah. But go ahead, Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah. She
fantastic.
She was fantastic. Like her standout moment in this movie is obviously when she sings "I Know Where I'm Going," or "I Know Where I've Been." Sorry.
Yeah, she nails it. She kills it. She's great. I love when Queen Latifah sings.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I love when she sings, because she's her namesake is from her rap career, but she's a great singer. She's a great
singer. Yeah.
I wonder if people remember Queen Latifah had a rap career.
Well, the black populace does for sure.
Do they though?
Yes.
Mean, the younger ones. Though.
Okay, the younger
like
now.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The younger generation.
I feel like even now, sometimes I forget, because now she's like so far removed from that. Like she does exclusively act now.
She'll occasionally pop up, because she did do a feature. She'll do a feature here and there. Sometimes she'll show up at the BET Awards, bust a few rhymes. Like it's but it's very seldom. It is very seldom. Like it is not really
every like 5 years and be like, I want y'all to remember I can rap. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, because especially because her big thing when her rap, like she wasn't like an MC Light or a Salt and Pepper, where their whole thing was we are hip hop. Like Queen Latifah's thing was she was more house music mixed with hip hop. So more like stuff like Pump Up the Jam, Technotronic, like that sort of stuff. That was more her vibe. So it's not the most popular version of hip hop. But she was great then as a hip hop star too. But as a singer, she's fantastic. I'm glad that she's apparently though her also up for her role was Aretha Franklin.
I knew you were reading that. I was about to say, which that would have been interesting to see Aretha Franklin in the role, because I haven't really seen her in movies and stuff.
The most I can remember as far as popular movies she's been in is Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah,
but she was young then. Like that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wouldn't she have been a little bit considered too much older for this film?
That's probably
Well, I
what
think
stopped her at that time, was that she maybe was considered maybe a little older as far as like
I
casting
think
goes.
that was so. What? So she died in 2018. She was 76. So this was about 10 years earlier. So she would have been 66 when she filmed the role. I could see it. I could see it. Like, because when I think of Motormouth Maybelle, I think of older. So Queen Latifah was actually like young for me, like when in the role.
Well, also she had worked with this director before, because she had been in Bringing Down the House, which was directed by the same person.
God,
Earlier
movie.
I love that movie too. But she had been in that movie earlier. So that probably was also a piece of it too. Like, because Aretha Franklin had been considered. It's not like she had been cast or they were trying to cast her. It's just somebody they were talking about. So, but I mean, she's great. She doesn't have too much to do really, as far as like the dance moves and stuff. She's just there to really sing and just bring her personality, which she can do with her eyes closed. Like she's amazing at doing both those things. And so she just brings her personality and just kills it doing her role as Motormouth Maybelle. So she's fantastic in the role. Elijah Kelly, though.
Elijah Kelly.
This was my introduction to him. I had never heard of this kid before that movie.
Same. This is the first thing I saw him in. Run and Tell That is my song. I'll just say that. Run and Tell That.
Yeah, although
Black of the berry, the sweet of the juice.
I love when they all go into the hallway and start dancing, and I'm like, you act like the rest of the school populace would be like, oh no, the black people have escaped. They're running. There's a riot in the halls. We need to run for cover. Because the second they got out there, I was just like, y'all are trying to cause a damn conniption. Do not do this right now. We do this in detention because no one can see us.
Not a conniption.
Not a conniption.
But it's a great song, though. It's a very fantastic song.
I think it was funny that they were able to just take 3 white students onto that bus.
That's what I'm saying. They were like I feel like the other white students were like, it's too late for them. They've been kidnapped. We can't save them. There's too many of them over there. There's no way we gonna save Tracy and Penny now. And Link, they got one of the white men, not him.
Yeah, I feel like they would have rioted if they knew Link was a favorite too. They didn't care.
Yeah, because they could care less about Tracy and Penny. They're like, man, screw Tracy and Penny. Well, maybe not Tracy, because she was famous at that time on the show. But they're like, and they stole Penny. Who? You know, Penny.
The tall girl that's always with her.
Look, it don't matter who she is. She's white. That's all that matters. We need to go save her. Although, admittedly, her and Elijah Kelly do make a cute looking couple, though. They did look chemistry. Like they should have. They did have great chemistry.
All of the teen cast really had great chemistry. Even like Brittany Snow with the rest of the the other 4 teens.
Zac Efron, the minute he's not feeling Amber no more, though, he tried to put his hands in it, and it'd be one thing if he was just like, he just slowly did it. He like snatches her hand away from him, like, don't touch me. Get your hands off of me.
No, he literally says no, too. He's like, no. I started laughing because he did it. It was so gross. No, like you're telling like a child.
Yeah, he acts like he has been defiled by this girl. Just because she has her hands on him.
In all fairness, like, just because she wasn't part of all his dancing with Tracy, so she's just off at her home thing, and everything's fine with her, the relationship, because he was offering her a promise ring, and the next time where she's, like, distressed, she's looking over to him, and he's like, no, and then goes over to Tracy.
You know what it is, though? He didn't think, you know what it is? I know what it is, all right? What happened to Link is that Link, obviously should be with Amber because, that's what society tells him, and then he's like...
something you say that we're going to go, oh my God, too?
Listen, I'm just saying. Look,
that energy is coming quickly to
follow me on this one, okay? Follow me on this one, all right? Link gives Amber that promise ring because he's like, this is what I'm being told to do. But then he when he's walking by detention, he sees Tracy out here shaking it, you know what I mean? Like shaking what her mama gave her, and he's just like, ah, dang, like she got it like that though. Like, hold on, let me just let me just get the hair right. Hold on, wait a minute. Damn, this promise ring. I'm about to dive in. It's just like about to get on in there. And he, with no hesitation, drops Amber like a bad habit and is ready to dedicate his whole life to smashing Tracy because he knows that that's the possibility.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we have fun here at the First Ones to Die podcast. Alex is on the floor. Jonathan's cut his camera off. I'm crying.
I wasn't ready for the singing, I think. Which I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't prepare myself for that.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying, he ain't never seen Amber move like that. Either that changed his entire world.
I mean, that's a fair observation.
I don't know how we go from that.
I'm just saying.
Well,
Anyway,
Lil Inez.
A checkerboard girl later
Right.
on.
yeah, I don't know why in my head I thought she said something a little more like it doesn't hold up today. But checkerboard chick probably isn't that bad, right?
Mm-mm.
I wonder what she said in the original 1988 version. I wonder what was I want to make a joke, but I don't know what crosses the line. And I had to say something offensive, and I'm willing to risk myself like that.
What did we think about Lil Inez?
I mean, she's fine. I would have more to say about her
cute.
if she had more to do. She's kind of in there just to really dance and sing, but she doesn't really have a lot to do as a character.
But
So
then she
kinda
wins.
She does win. She does win. Although
In
I
the
love,
music-
I love Corny roasts her. He's just like, well, anybody who dances and performs on this stage live while the cameras are on still technically qualifies. Bitch, he puts her, tells the contract, everything. I was like, dang, Corny's salty, bro.
In the musical, Lil Inez goes to the audition. You see her go to the audition, and she's like, "Can I audition?" And then, what's her name? Velma says like laughs in her face and is like, "No, you can't audition."
Dang.
You know what? I feel like this one definitely to make it more family friendly and stuff like that. They did leave out quite a bit, and it kind of makes certain points of the film incomplete. Like when we saw with Amanda Bynes' shower curtain dress, we both knew that was something like from the background. We saw it, and I remember that from the 1988 one where the mom works on dresses as a seamstress as well, and then takes I think it was the bed sheets and the curtains like that. So like that part was out, and I think Luna she was supposed to be in the film more, no? Where you see her and you're like, that's a cutie pie. I like that one. She's smart.
Right.
I think apparently though I did not know the actress is apparently a singer and songwriter.
Yes,
and apparently
Taylor
helped,
Parks.
and that she wrote or was co-writer rather on like songs like "Thank You Next" by Ariana Grande.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's an accomplished songwriter. She's written a lot for Ariana Grande. Like you'll see her and Ariana Grande like hanging out, and she's written for like many other people as well.
But apparently Lil Inez is also based in part upon Ruby Bridges, which makes a whole lot of sense when you look at how she's dressed, because she even dresses like Ruby Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Although, what are these names? Inez Stubbs, Seaweed Stubbs? What type of black man you know is named Seaweed?
Look,
Same man who's named Bob.
Velma Von Tussle, Penny Pingleton, Tracy Turnblad. there's a theme with the alliteration.
But they're white
here.
people. White people have crazy names like that. Black people don't got no names like that.
I mean, as somebody who works in a doctor's office and sees a wide variety of names, he's not wrong. White people love alliteration in their names.
But at least those names sound like they go together. You know what I'm saying? Amber Von Tussle, Velma Von Tussle, Corny Collins. You know what I'm saying?
Courtney Collins. That's his government name.
That's his government. But it's like Seaweed Stubbs. You know what I'm saying? This man has to put seaweed on his driver's license. That doesn't even sound like a real name.
It was also like the 70s. People have weird names back then. I'm sure that's where a lot of those plant names came from, like ash and oak, flower.
Who the hell is being named Oak as their first name?
I bet I could find somebody.
Spruce instead of Bruce.
There's a trend going on TikTok where they would show like, oh, show your kid and then what it's named after. People at first like were like, oh, that's cute. And then people like there was this one baby I saw, it was a baby, and then they showed a bunch of different trees. So people were like limber, timber, trees, forest, National Park Services. Like they just came up with the stupidest shit. And I like that's how it eventually went until the trend stopped, but I loved it. Because people are quite creative when they're trying to think of different words. I don't know.
But I really like Lil Inez Stubbs as a character. I just wish he had more to do. Like, but again, moves solid dance moves. Looks great when she's doing her thing. Characters I thought was interesting was the Dynamites, the like black girl group.
Oh, I love the Dynamites.
Especially when because I forgot about this, but it tripped me out when like at first they're singing on the billboards and stuff, which is like okay, yeah, that's like they're on TV now, and that makes sense. But then they're also working at the clothing store, yeah. And then they just start singing in the clothing store, and I was like, oh my god,
Mr. Pinkies.
Is this their day job when they're not on stage? They work here.
Also, the fact that it's called Mr. Pinky, what is it called? Mr. Pinky's
Hefty
Hideaway.
Yeah, Hefty Hideaway.
Yeah. As somebody who wears plus size clothing, if I ever heard that and somebody recommended that type of store to me, I'd be like, we are no longer talking. Get the hell
insulted.
Away from me. Be like, lose my number. Do not text me ever again.
Not to mention, it feels like a fetish store. Because not only is the name weird, this man has donuts on trays just sitting around the food. Like he's almost encouraging you, like, yeah, keep eating. You can buy these clothes, girl.
Like sometimes you do stuff, Jerome, and I want you to know it haunts me. like
you'll be thinking about this for the next 5 years.
Yeah, like 4 days later, it'll hit me. Yeah. Out of fucking nowhere, and I have to explain to people why I'm suddenly like laughing like an idiot. So like, let me explain. My friend went like this about a donut.
I have a dark sense of humor. It's it's part of the charm. But I love the Dynamites so much, mainly because I have a bias. Because it's the same reason why Hercules is my favorite Disney animated film. When the muses come on, I am locked in. I'm like, I don't care what's happening on screen. This is the best part of the movie, hands down. Every time they sing, when they're singing the gospel truth, when they're singing that Zero to Hero, everything. They are the best. And if they remake Hercules, damn it, the muses better be in there, or I'm marching on Disney Studios.
Oh, they will for sure. You know they will. They've already done like fan casts of what the muses would be like. People put Lizzo in there.
I can see that. That'd be cool. Taraji P. Henson should be in there. Also going to be in Color Purple. I didn't know that until I saw the trailer.
Oh, is she? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Hairspray. Jerome, final thoughts on Hairspray.
Oh, this movie is a fun time. You could just tell the fun time we've had talking about it.
Right,
is just how much we like. Of a good time this movie is. Like it is so colorful, so beautiful. It's funny. It has such great performances from everybody. Nobody half-asses it. Like even if they can't quite because I've talked about John Travolta's voice, but even still, he is giving it his all. It's not that he's like not hitting the vocal range because he's not trying. It's just because of the nature of his, how his voice is. But even then, he still gives 110%. His performance comes through that fat suit and the makeup and everything. And so it's like everybody, and he's not the only one, like everybody does a fantastic job in this movie trying to deliver like his best or make it the best musical movie that they can. And also one thing we didn't talk about, but one thing I noticed is also the other half of reason this movie works so well is because it's a movie. At no point does this movie try to be like the musical in that it's like, it's very static shots where all we're just watching people dance. It's like, no, we get camera angles. They use the environment very well. That scene when they're on the bus and they're dancing and jumping through the bus posts and everything inside the bus in that shot. And then they come out and they keep dancing and all that stuff. Like that's the type of stuff that makes movie musicals. It's like you can't recreate what you can do on stage because, you got more room to play around in. So play around and have some fun. And this movie understands that assignment very well of like, we have the ability now to like go to different locations to have different sets and all that stuff. And they really utilize it very well in this movie. So I cannot recommend Hairspray enough if you haven't seen it. If you're a huge musicals fan, you're just going to enjoy it. If you have kids, have them watch this movie. They will be glued to the screen for all 2 hours of this movie. They will enjoy themselves and have a good time. And you'll have a good time also as a parent just watching them. And although they may annoy you by singing the songs for like the next decade, like nonstop. But still, it's a great movie. Got a great message. It's just tight script, everything. Fantastic. Can't recommend Hairspray enough. It's a great movie.
Speaking of decade, the fact that it's been 16 years since this movie came out.
Oh my God.
Is wild.
Well, the biggest shame too is there was supposed to be a sequel. Because the movie did well. It did really well. And there was supposed to be a sequel and it just...
For what?
It says apparently
I never want to see a sequel again.
It's supposed to be called like...
it was called Hairspray 2 White Lipstick.
White Lipstick.
Apparently, it says, due to Hairspray's financial success, New Line Cinema had asked John Waters to write a sequel to the film. Waters reunited with director/choreographer Adam Shankman for the project, and songwriters Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman were set to compose the film's musical numbers. The story would have looked at Tracy entering the late 1960s era of music and the British invasion, and used the hippie movement and Vietnam War as backdrops. No official casting was announced, though, but the only thing they did know is John Travolta did not want to come back. Not because he didn't have a good time doing the first one, just he wasn't into doing sequels.
Doesn't do sequels.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was like, I'm not really into doing sequels. But it just got canceled for. There's no clear reason, at least not here on Wikipedia, of why. And then apparently there was gonna be like in the 2019, John Waters said he had written a sequel for HBO, but that also never got produced either. So, and that's all we've heard since then. So,
I feel like in the movie, the second one, we would just see Link getting drafted.
Maybe that would have been interesting.
That would have been that actually.
And him having taken away, just like
him just singing in Vietnam, and they're like, "What are you doing, Logan? Get your ass in the Jeep. We gotta go."
It's the same way where SNL did that graduation skit, and he's as Troy Bolton. He comes on and he's like, "Nobody sings in the real world.
Right.
Nobody does that."
I only want one line where Seaweed Stubbs also gets drafted. And Seaweed's like, I don't understand. He's like, you don't understand? You're in the shit now, Seaweed!
I think that would have gotten too real for Hairspray.
It would have been Hair. Hairspray would have became Hair at that point.
Right.
The musical.
Just drop the spray.
Mm-hmm.
No, they were adding white lipstick, which...
Right.
I don't know where the white lipstick title came from.
Right.
I'm hoping maybe it's a bad fan name.
Or maybe
no, it sounds like that was the actual name.
That was supposedly the official title, but maybe it's just an official working title, and they're maybe going to change it later. Because I feel like Hairspray 2 would have just been fine. Why do you need
Right.
to add the subtitle?
Like Mamma Mia, like Mamma Mia 2.
right. Like,
Oh no, Mamma Mia 3 is called Here We Go Again, isn't it?
I guess,
There's
but
gonna be a
even
Mamma Mia
still,
3?
like just because another person does it doesn't mean you have to. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to have a subtitle if you don't need it.
They were gonna call it the Hairspray.
The Hairspray. Also, I feel like that's poison. If y'all sprayed that much aerosol hairspray in a
That's what I was
studio
thinking.
setting,
I know. I was trying to when I was watching the musical, I was like, that ain't really hairspray, is it?
No, in the
It's not-
musical,
yeah,
it's
it's not
like
aerosol.
it's just some aerosol like particles
It's like
or whatever.
mist.
Right.
It's mist,
Right,
yeah,
like
basically.
mist, like water.
And I'm sure that's what they use in the movie. But the idea when they start coughing in the movie is that it is supposed to be actual hairspray. To which I'm like, first of all, y'all are using way too much. Y'all hair are going. You go take a shower and it's gonna take at least 3 or 4 rounds to get all of that out of your hair.
I just kept thinking about it falling on the skin. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you gonna be all
Oh,
sticky.
yeah.
Because the girls literally walk through it as they're dancing and they're like looking up, and I'm like, that's all over you now. I remember having to use hairspray as a child. It gets on you, and once it's on you, not until the next shower.
Maybe
it's
that's
gone.
why Link was pissed. Amber kept touching his face. He's like, "Stop! You're spreading it. Like I'm already sticky enough. Get your hands off of me."
Oh, and then you're all sweating from the heat because those studios lights are hot.
Those lamps were hot.
Mhm.
And this is probably back before they even were able to afford the giant fans.
Right.
But
But Alex, what did you what are your final thoughts on Hairspray?
a little bit of a white savior complex, but ultimately it's a good, fun film that has a. It doesn't ignore the problems of which the time period it was set in,
Mhm.
but it doesn't make it its main focus, which is sometimes very hard to do when setting films in time periods that have very big movements going on at the time. But I think they did it well. They did a good balance. All the dancing was very well choreographed and very well done. All the actresses and actors, and I'm sure professional dancers, you could tell they put so much time and work into this, and they really clearly gave it their all. A lot of musicals, though, it's very simple and very like, all right, you can tell who's here because they want to do the acting of it, but half-assing the musical part and the theater part. In this film, everybody really showed that they were committed to like doing the steps, and the singing, of course. I think everybody was well casted for this film too. Like I said, I have a hard time seeing anybody other than Christopher Walken and John Travolta dancing together. So like I'm like that fit. That weirdly had some good energy, and I like Queen Latifah as her character as well. And yeah, I think they all chose very well, and it was a good show. And I would love to watch the Corny Collins show one day. I think that'd be great. I guess it was a Buddy
Dean.
Dean show. But I think anybody should just watch it, have a good time, enjoy the colorful. It's also very colorful.
Very
colorful.
is.
Yeah,
Very
very
enjoyable. It was very vibrant. And just enjoy the songs because the songs are awesome. I love them.
I think of Christopher Walken too. I just thought about this. Also, at what point do you think Michelle Pfeiffer should have maybe gave up on the seduction? Because this woman has a box of joke stuff. That means he's took her basically around the entire damn store, and she's still trying to be like, but I'm still get him though. Like, at this point, lady, just leave. He ain't picking up what you're trying to lay down.
I love how he scared her at the beginning in the gorilla mask.
That was great. That was good.
That was
That was a good
very
gag.
What do you think about the movie, Jonathan, as you picked it?
Yes, I love Hairspray. I have loved Hairspray. I will always love Hairspray. I will take any chance I get to watch it, and like it's just such a fun film. I love movies, especially musicals, with ensemble casts, just because there's so many people involved. There's so many moving parts. There's so many different voices that you get to hear from, so many perspectives, so many, especially when you have all these different actors from all of these different kind of areas. Like, before this movie came out, who would have thought that John Travolta, Queen Latifah, Zac Efron, Amanda Bynes would all be in the same movie together. Christopher Walken, Michelle Pfeiffer, like you would have never thought, but it made
And
for the
still,
perfect combination.
none of them are the main star either.
That's
even
true.
crazier.
Yeah. So it's just a ball of fun. My mind sometimes, like thinking about it now, I'm like, should they have made a Hairspray 2? I would have watched it, but now I'm like, just let's leave it where it was. We would have got some more music, some more good songs, but you can't break that feeling you had watching the first one. So I guess I'm kind of glad they left it at that. But
also, especially because it feels like this coming from a Broadway musical, like it comes from a already tested and proven good show. To make a new thing that's supposed to live up to that legacy would have been near impossible.
A challenge. Yeah.
Like, that's hard. And especially because you're dealing with the Vietnam War and the British invasion. Like, these are things that aren't as universal as the civil rights movement. Yeah.
And an ensemble cast. If the cast were just like 3 or 4 people, like if the main cast were just 3 or 4 people, then you probably could have gotten all of them back and done something with that. But you probably wouldn't have gotten everyone back, and it wouldn't have been that same magic that it would have been in the first movie. So So Hairspray always has a place in my heart.
Yep.
With that,
comment below, audience. Tell us what you thought about Hairspray. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you watch it back in the day, or did you watch it once you became an adult, or something in the middle, or have you never even seen it at all? And now, thanks to this review, you're now just going to go out and watch it. Comment below. Tell us what you think about Hairspray.
Yes. And Jerome, where can people find you if they want to find you?
You can find me at NotJeromeRhett on Instagram, as well as at RoboZmedia and at Jerome_the_show to see other stuff I am working on, as well as check out the First Ones to Die YouTube channel. If you're already there, thank you. But if you are, subscribe, share, favorite, all that good stuff. Like the video and all those things. And keep checking in to find a whole bunch of content that you can't get on any of the audio streaming platforms. Stuff like gaming videos, vlogs, book reviews, mini reviews, video versions of all the podcasts, and so much more. We got some other stuff we're doing coming down the pipeline eventually, so be on the lookout for that. And the only way to know for sure is to subscribe so you can be in the know on your YouTube channel. So once again, at the First Ones to Die podcast. Check that out.
Awesome. How about you, Alex?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok, and the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips from these episodes, as well as things we may be watching, and my own little comments on films, where I'm a little high. Where that high's kind of kicking in right now, actually. And where are we finding you, Jonathan?
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can follow us at The First Ones to Die on all of your favorite social platforms. You can email us at thefirstones2die@gmail.com. We would love to hear your feedback, your questions, your comments. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment below as well. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please give us 5 stars and a review. We would really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Next week,
let's ride. Let's ride. That's all. I've heard that now 90,000 freaking times every time the Fast X trailer comes on. Let's ride. Let's ride.
I haven't watched it.
These are song lyrics. Anyway, next week, Fast X. Talk about all the things Fast and Furious.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
It is.
But until then.
Until then,
have a good morning,
see y'all next
good
week.
night, good evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast.